I've seen people smarter than me, richer than me, stronger than me, completely lose control of their lives because they couldn't control their emotions. You can build a life in 10 years and destroy it in 10 seconds. Why? Because emotion is not just a feeling. It's a weapon. And if you don't control it, it will control you. If you want to win in life, if you want to build something lasting, if you want peace, power, and purpose, there's no negotiation. You must master your emotions. That's why this talk matters. Stay with me because this might be the last time you ever let your emotions decide your future. Emotions are the steering wheel of life. Imagine driving a powerful car down a winding mountain road with no hands on the wheel. That's what life looks like when you don't control your emotions. The road is filled with turns, surprises, bumps, and sometimes even cliffs. Without control, you're not driving, you're just waiting to crash. Every single decision you make is influenced by emotion. Every word you say when you're angry, every risk you avoid when you're afraid, every time you give up because you feel hopeless, those are not rational decisions. Those are emotional reactions. And emotional reactions, if left unchecked, can lead to lifetime regrets. Think about the times in your life when things went wrong, not because of bad luck, but because of bad judgment. And then ask yourself, were you calm and clear-headed in those moments? Or were you acting out of fear, anger, pride, or panic? We like to believe we're logical creatures. But in truth, we're emotional first. The logic comes later, usually to justify what we've already done. That's why it's dangerous to let emotions lead. If you're not aware, they will make decisions on your behalf and leave you to clean up the consequences. This doesn't mean emotions are bad. In fact, emotions are incredibly powerful. They're part of what makes us human. But power without control is a threat, not a strength. The most successful people are not those who feel nothing. It's those who feel deeply but are not led blindly. They use their emotions as data, not as commands. They recognize when anger is rising, but they pause. They sense fear, but they move forward anyway. They hear doubt, but they don't give it the microphone. There's a reason why emotional intelligence is considered more important than IQ in today's world. Because in a fast-moving, pressure-filled life, the one who can stay focused, calm, and grounded in the storm will always make better decisions than the one who panics. Emotions can fuel your dreams or sabotage them. It all depends on who's driving. So when I say emotions are the steering wheel of life, I mean it literally. If you want to go anywhere meaningful in your life, you must take control of the wheel. Not once, not twice, every single day. That means learning how to pause before reacting. That means being self-aware when your mood changes. That means developing habits that strengthen your emotional discipline. Because at the end of the day, if you're not steering your life, someone else or something else will. And you'll wake up one day far off course wondering how you got there. The answer: you let your emotions drive. Never let go of that wheel. You can't always choose how you feel, but you can always choose how you act. That's where true strength begins. The world rewards those who have the ability to stay composed when everything around them is shaking. Discipline is stronger than emotion because discipline gives you the power to respond rather than react. In life, it's not about how you feel in the moment. It's about what you do in that moment. And the truth is, most people lose the game of life not because they don't have talent or intelligence, but because they don't have the ability to stay emotionally steady when things get tough. Let me give you an example. Two people are faced with the same challenge. One panics, complains, blames others, and gives up. The other pauses, breathes, assesses, and takes action. Same situation, same difficulty, but completely different outcomes. Why? One was led by emotion. The other was guided by discipline. When you let emotions take over, you become impulsive. You might say something you regret. You might walk away from an opportunity because fear whispered lies to you. You might attack someone who didn't deserve it, all because your ego couldn't take a hit. These are the hidden costs of emotional decisions, costs that are often greater than any external obstacle. Discipline gives you space. It gives you clarity. It allows you to separate what you're feeling from what actually needs to be done. And that's where your power lives, not in how loud you can shout or how dramatic you can be, but in how silent you can stay when the moment demands wisdom, not noise. Emotional control is not about suppression. It's about understanding. It's about when to speak and when to stay silent, when to push and when to let go, when to fight and when to walk away. This kind of control doesn't come naturally. It's trained. It's built in quiet moments when you choose to act with purpose rather than react with emotion. People will test you. Life will pressure you. Circumstances will frustrate you. And every time that happens, you are being handed a choice. React emotionally and risk losing your ground, or act with discipline and rise above the noise. Emotional storms will come. That's a fact. But those who win in the long run are not the ones who avoid storms. They are the ones who become the calm inside them. The difference between someone who lives a life of regret and someone who builds a life of greatness often comes down to one simple thing: the ability to do what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like doing it. That's discipline. And that's what gives you the power to control your destiny. No matter how loud your emotions try to scream over your purpose. Emotions are contagious. Just like a virus, they spread from one person to another quietly, invisibly, but powerfully. You walk into a room where people are tense and angry, and suddenly, without realizing it, your shoulders tighten, your voice sharpens, your energy shifts. You didn't start the fire, but now you're burning in it. That's how emotions work. Whether it's anger, fear, joy, or excitement, emotions pass from one human to another faster than logic can keep up. This is why learning to control your emotional energy is not just for your benefit, it's for everyone around you. Every single day, you're broadcasting something. Whether you speak or stay silent, you're sending emotional signals. And people respond to what you radiate. If you constantly radiate frustration, negativity, or insecurity, guess what you attract? The same energy. You'll start to draw in more problems, more tension, more chaos. On the other hand, if you train yourself to remain calm, confident, and focused, even when things go wrong, you become a stabilizing force. People start to trust you, follow you, and seek your leadership, not because you're the smartest, but because you're the most emotionally reliable. We live in a world of overreaction. Social media has taught people to blow things out of proportion, to respond instantly, to express everything without thinking. But when you join that emotional spiral, you lose your edge. You become just another voice in the noise. The ones who stand out, the ones who lead, are the people who stay centered. People who don't get sucked into other people's emotional storms. That's emotional intelligence in action. Not just managing your own feelings, but recognizing when others are losing control and choosing not to join them. And here's the truth most people ignore. Not every emotion you feel is even yours. Sometimes you're reacting to someone else's stress, someone else's bitterness, someone else's bad day. But if you're not aware of this, you carry it like it's your own. You snap at your team, you take it out on your family. You lose focus not because something's wrong with you, but because you absorb someone else's chaos. That's why emotional boundaries matter. You have to protect your peace like it's gold. You have to choose what you allow in and what you refuse to pass on. Every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every wise human being has learned this. Emotional control is influence. When you control your emotions, you don't just improve your life, you elevate the emotional climate of every room you walk into. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't just reflect the temperature, you set it. And in a world full of reaction, panic, and drama, that makes you incredibly rare and incredibly powerful. Your biggest enemy isn't out there. It's in here. It's not your boss, not your competitor, not your circumstances. It's your own fear, your impatience, your own anger. The internal enemies are always the most dangerous because they're quiet, familiar, and convincing. They speak to you in your own voice. They know your insecurities, they know your weaknesses, and they always show up at the worst times. You can prepare for external threats, but if you don't master what's happening inside you, even the smallest challenge can break you. Fear is the first enemy. It tells you you're not ready, that you're going to fail, that you'll be judged. It convinces you to stay small, play it safe, and wait for the perfect moment that never comes. How many dreams have died because someone listened to fear for too long? Fear rarely shouts, it whispers. It sounds reasonable, but its goal is always the same, to stop you from growing. Then comes anger. Anger makes you believe you're strong when you're actually losing control. It pushes you to say things you don't mean, make decisions you'll regret, and fight battles that don't need to be fought. Anger isn't always loud. It can show up as resentment, as bitterness, as a short temper that poisons relationships one word at a time. And when anger drives your actions, destruction is never far behind. Jealousy is another enemy. It blinds you to your own value. It turns your attention away from your lane and focuses it on someone else's. You start comparing instead of creating. You start hating instead of learning. Jealousy creates a cycle of misery where you constantly feel behind no matter how far you've come. But perhaps the most subtle and dangerous enemy of all is impatience. The voice that says, "It's taking too long. Why isn't it working yet? Maybe I should give up." Impatience convinces people to quit right before the breakthrough. It kills potential by demanding speed instead of progress. It tells you that if success doesn't come fast, it's not coming at all. That voice has stolen more victories than failure ever could. What makes these enemies powerful is that they live inside your mind. You can't run from them. You can't hide. The only way to win is to become deeply aware of how they operate and to refuse to let them rule you. You must build discipline, self-awareness, and emotional strength to stand firm when these feelings rise. Because if you don't, you'll sabotage your own life from the inside out. Master your emotions and you weaken these enemies. But if you ignore them, they will quietly, slowly, and steadily destroy everything you're trying to build. Control them and you control your future. Let them control you and you become your own worst obstacle. In today's world, emotional control isn't just a nice skill to have, it's a superpower. We live in a time where people are constantly reacting. One bad comment ruins their day. One piece of bad news sends them spiraling.
One failure makes them quit.
And while everyone is caught in this endless loop of emotional ups and downs, the person who can stay grounded, focused, and emotionally stable stands out. In fact, they rise. They lead. They win not because they're the loudest or the most talented, but because they know how to keep their inner world in check. Think about how fast everything moves now. Social media bombards us with information. Pressure is constant. People want instant results, instant validation, instant success. And when things don't come fast enough, they break down. They lash out. They give up. The ability to pause, reflect, and respond, not react, is becoming rare. And rare equals powerful. When others are panicking, the one who remains calm becomes the leader. When others are drowning in emotion, the one who chooses clarity becomes the decision maker. That's why emotional control is more than personal development. It's a competitive edge. Emotional control allows you to think clearly in crisis. It lets you make tough decisions without being driven by fear or frustration. It gives you presence, and presence commands respect. People trust those who don't get shaken by every little thing. Whether you're building a business, raising a family, working on your goals, or just navigating life, being emotionally steady makes you dependable. And in a chaotic world, dependability is magnetic. But here's the secret. Emotional control doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It doesn't mean you become cold or robotic. It means you own your feelings instead of being owned by them. You acknowledge them, you understand them, but you don't let them dictate your actions. And the more you practice this, the stronger you become. It's like building a muscle. Every time you choose to stay calm when things get heated, every time you choose patience over panic, grace over anger, silence over drama, you're leveling up. The world is full of noise, and most people are reacting to that noise every second. But the few who learn to control their emotional responses are the ones who create the signal. They rise above the chaos. They lead with intention. They make decisions with wisdom. They live with purpose. In a reactive world, the emotionally disciplined person becomes unstoppable. That's the power you hold when you learn to control your emotions. You don't just survive, you thrive. You don't just manage situations, you master them. Because the person who masters themselves is the one who masters life. Let me leave you with one undeniable truth. The strongest person in any room is not the one who shouts the loudest, has the most money, or holds the highest title. It's the one who can control their emotions when everything around them is falling apart. Because when you control your emotions, you control your choices. And when you control your choices, you control your future. Every goal you want to reach, every relationship you want to build, every legacy you want to leave it, all depends on your ability to stay centered when life pushes you off balance. The world will test you. People will frustrate you. Circumstances will challenge you. But your power comes not from what happens to you, it comes from how you respond. This is your edge. Your advantage, your superpower. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. Be intentional. And above all, be in control. Because the moment you stop letting emotions dictate your actions, that's the moment you start living on your own terms. Control your emotions and you control your life. Lose control of them and you hand your life over to chaos. The choice is yours. Choose power. Choose discipline. Choose mastery over emotion because that's where your real freedom begins.